Welcome to News in Alberta. This is Special Ed. Today we're looking at a teen, an eighth grader, that was shot by a cop for breaking a window.
A cop decides to shoot a student, unarmed student, accused of breaking a window. Let's do this. Put up the picture full mass. I'm going to give you the background to this. So there's body cam footage, and you see it right here. This is one of the screenshots from that footage. It shows an Illinois cop allegedly shooting an unarmed teenager accused of damaging a woman's window in an incident that attorneys argue was unjustified, excessive, and unnecessary. Sauk Village police officers approached two 14-year-olds during the incident that unfolded. This was March 2022. Okay, you see it there. Body cam and cell phone footage obtained by CBS News Chicago's investigators show an officer, Seth Brown, questioning the child, the girl, and the boy, the children, about the accusation. The girl responding to Brown, quote, "That ain't got nothing to do with me," end quote. A woman in the neighborhood blamed the male teen for breaking a window a day prior, telling a sergeant, Scott Langen, that two teens knew her nephew and she had a photo of the male teen. The video shows Brown instructing the children to keep their hands out of their pockets. As the male teen explains, they're in the area to meet up with friends, but the officer asks them for their name and their dates of birth. The boy responding, "We didn't do nothing wrong," end quote.
So, all he was doing is questioning the teens, but he came up, oh, I need your name and ID and all the rest of this crap. Did he break the window? Didn't he break the window? I don't know. But starts out like many others that we've seen that usually finishes badly.
There's more. According to the video, the incident intensifies when the officers tell the child to put his hands behind his back because they're taking him into custody. For what? The child responds, "CDP," Langen responded, referring to a criminal damage property. The teen's attorney said he didn't know what the acronym meant during the arrest. On top of that, both officers were reportedly not on the same accord and were telling him different things. "You're going to be charged and let go," Langen said. The other officer, Brown, said if he kept resisting, he would tase him, and ultimately did seconds later, causing the child to start running. Next, Langen allegedly took out his handgun and then shot the teen as he's running. Right there, shot him, striking him in the hip. However, the injured teen kept running out of fear and hopped over a fence. The video also shows the officer attempted to use a taser on him again after shooting him. This is a teenager who is unarmed.
No, they didn't say he was aggressive. They didn't say he was doing this or that. All he did was not put his hands behind his back, and they tased him, so he ran.
While hiding from the officers at the scene, the teen contacted his guardian, who came to the area per CBS News. The officers informed him that emergency first responders were on the way. The teen was transported to a local hospital for medical treatment. The eighth grader was not arrested. The eighth grader was charged with nothing. His attorneys, Ophel Jr. and Gabe Hardy, filed a lawsuit against the police department. During the investigation, the CBS News reported Officer Langen told officials he shot the teen accidentally because he thought he grabbed his taser instead of his Glock. We've been here before, haven't we? Very familiar, very similar to the cop who shot Mr. Dante Wright in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota in 2021. The teen's attorney called his actions reckless. Put it up. Following the right incident, the Suck Village Police Department created a policy that required officers to have their guns and tasers on opposite sides of their holsters to avoid confusion, according to the report that day.
So his excuse is that he thought he grabbed his taser. You grab it in your hand, you see your gun. You pull the trigger, and you think it's a taser.
That officer had his taser in front of his tactical vest. According to the report, he was cleared of all charges last month. Put up the chief. This is Police Chief Malcolm White. Said disciplinary action is yet to take place due to the department waiting on the decision from the Illinois State Police and Cook County State Attorney's Office. Yeah, end quote. So what happened here? An overzealous cop trying to harm a teenager that's unarmed, scared, yes. What happened to just chasing somebody? I mean, why even tase the child? That alone seemed to be aggressive, uncalled for. This is a minor. You have not established any evidence to the allegation. And to say, well, I pulled out the gun. I thought I had the taser. Can I say this? There are multiple incidents reported this way every year. The cop says, I pulled out my gun, but I thought I had the taser. Different color, different trigger system, different weight, typically on different sides of the officer.
So this cop says, my bad, and he gets away with it. He wasn't following protocol. He didn't have his taser on the left side. And like this guy says, different weight, different trigger system, different color. And this is the excuse he gives, and he gets away with it?
Different training. But they get away with saying, you know what, I made a mistake. I pulled this weapon, but I meant to pull the other weapon. But here's the thing. How many times is it reported when a cop pulls a taser and said, I meant to pull my gun, but instead pulled the taser? So the individual is still alive. Zero. Never happened. It's not reported, not one time. That's why I don't buy it. I don't buy it. It is a way for them to get away with it because every single time they get either no penalty or significantly reduced penalty for shooting someone. All right. My dear brother, thoughts here.
I think the police officer in this case was terribly lazy, and I think that's a common theme, right? It takes a certain amount of work to really try to say, okay, I'm going to find out. I'm going to have a calm conversation with this teenager. I'm going to try to find out what's going on. I'm going to survey the neighborhood. I'm going to make sure that we establish a rapport so that we can chat. But all too often, I think a lot of people want to take the shortcut. And for a cop, that means immediately saying, give me your ID. And then, pulling out a weapon of some kind, and the kid runs away. And instead of trying to chase them and tackle them and arrest them, police officer thinks, I can just shoot them. That's an easier way to bring them down, or tase them. That's an easier way to bring them down. And you know what? What have we done now with this young man? This young man is going to have a view of police, and his family is going to have a view of police that is going to come back to haunt the police in the future. And that's what happens every single time police use excessive force.
That's right. Young man's in the 8th grade, shot by the police. Police says, it was an accident. Nothing happened. Kid doesn't even get charged for the original accusation at all.
So they didn't charge the kid, which means he probably didn't do it. They probably looked at it and said, well, no, this wasn't the guy. But they shot him anyway. And this is the kind of kid that's never going to trust the police again. He's going to tell his kids not to trust the police. And it starts another whole shit show. What do you think of this? Let me know in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.